I wasn't supposed to be there. Not at that time. Not on that road. Not at that goddamn gas station in the middle of nowhere. But life doesn't care about where you're supposed to be. It just drops you off somewhere strange when your GPS dies. Your gas light comes on, and there's no signal except the static on the radio whispering in a language you don't recognize. I was heading west. State line to state line, California or bust. The road was mine, the desert endless. The sun had died hours ago, and now the only light came from the stars and a single neon sign glowing red on the horizon. Last GAS24 HRS, there was no town, no cars. Just that one battered station nestled into the dark like a lonely outpost. I should have kept driving, but I didn't. The place was ancient. The pumps looked older than my dad's truck. No music, no screen, just a flickering LED display and plastic numbers yellowed from sun and dust. The station itself was a low concrete rectangle with one door, a barred window, and a single buzzing light above it. I pulled in next to pump 4. It gave off a steady whine, like a dying fly stuck inside a wall. I turned off the engine. That's when I saw him. An old man, real old. Dressed in denim, boots, one of those mesh trucker hats that looks older than the guy wearing it. He stood just outside the doorway, leaning against the wall with a cigarette that burned too bright in the dark. I gave him a nod. He didn't return it. Instead, he said, "Don't look behind pump 4 at midnight." I let the silence stretch a second, trying to decide if he was serious. The desert wind made everything sound like it had weight. He wasn't smiling. He didn't blink. "All right," I said, trying to play it cool. "That's oddly specific." He took a drag from the cigarette. The cherry glowed like an eye. "You look," he said, voice like gravel, "and it'll see you." I opened my mouth to respond, but he was already gone. Just turned and walked back inside like the warning was a full conversation. No explanation. No punchline. Just, "Don't look." I filled the tank. Watched the dust swirl under the buzzing lights. The radio still wouldn't come back, just the same looping hiss. My phone was dead. Not battery dead, just blank. Like it didn't want to work here. I checked the clock in my truck. 11:58 p.m. I looked at pump 4. Then, I looked away. I should have left. Driven off into the night and never looked back. But IDN single quotes T. Because sometimes curiosity is stronger than fear. Because some warnings feel like dares. Because when it hit midnight, I looked and something looked back. The digital clock on my dash flipped to 12 o'clock. Exactly the moment it changed. The gas station lights flickered just once, but in that single blink, everything felt heavier. The air, the shadows, even the silence. I stood beside the truck, hand still on the gas nozzle, eyes fixed on pump 4. Nothing unusual at first. Just a metal box, chipped red paint, old stickers that had long since peeled away. But then I saw something behind it. Not movement. Absence. There was a space behind pump 4 where the desert should have been sand. Scrub brush, maybe the outline of the highway, but instead, it was just black. Not nighttime black. Empty black. Like someone had cut a hole in reality and forgot to patch it. And from inside that black, 2 eyes opened, small, distant, glowing like dying embers. They didn't float. They were connected to something. Something crouched low, watching. I didn't move, neither did it. For a second, we just stared at each other. And then it blinked. Not fast, not human. The eyes folded inward, sideways like a reptile's, then opened again. That broke me. I gasped, dropped the nozzle, and stumbled back into the driver's side, slamming the door shut. I locked it, because that helps, right? Locking a door? As if that thing needed doors to get in. I watched the pump from inside, breath fogging the window. The eyes were gone. So was the shadow. Behind pump 4 was just pump 4 again, nothing more. I didn't move for a long time, didn't breathe right. Then, Against every ounce of good sense I had left, I turned to look through my rearview mirror, and I saw it again. But this time, it was closer. I stared at the rearview mirror for what felt like hours. The thing stood maybe 10 feet from the truck, now half hidden behind pump 4. One long, thin arm wrapped around it, like it was trying to steady itself. Its body was wrong, too. Tall, too bent. Its limbs didn't match. One arm dragged low, fingers brushing the dirt. The other twitched like it had too many joints, and its head. It was tilted in this awful, unnatural way, like it was listening through bone. But its eyes, they were still locked on mine, even through the mirror, even when I blinked, even when I tried to look away. I fumbled for the keys. The truck wouldn't start. Dead silence. No click, no engine. Not even the dash lights. I punched the wheel and tried. Again, nothing. I looked back at the mirror. The thing had moved. Now it was crawling, not on hands and knees, on elbows, on joints, bent backwards, as if it didn't know how to mimic human movement, but was still trying. It scraped across the dirt toward me, eyes glowing brighter, no pupils, no whites, just twin embers burning in that warped face. Then the front door of the gas station creaked open. The old man stepped out. He didn't look at the creature. He didn't look at me. He just lit another cigarette, stared out into the darkness, and muttered, "You looked." The thing stopped, right in the middle of the lot. Frozen. Almost like it was waiting. The old man walked over, slow and steady, until he stood between me and it. He took a drag, eyes locked on the crawling shape. Then he turned his head slightly, just enough for his voice to carry over the wind. "Go inside, now, and don't open that door until I say." I didn't argue. I grabbed my backpack, yanked the truck door open, and sprinted across the dirt. The creature didn't chase. It didn't even flinch. Just watched. I burst into the station, heart hammering, lungs burning. The old man followed, shutting the door behind him. Then he slid a metal bolt into place. Like it had been there the whole time. He turned to me, not angry, not scared, just tired. "You've got till sunrise to live, if we're lucky." The gas station door clicked shut behind him like a tomb ceiling. He didn't say anything at first. Just walked over to the tiny fridge behind the counter, pulled out a glass bottle of root beer, and popped the cap off with the edge of the register like he'd done it 1,000 times. He handed it to me. "Drink." My hands were still shaking, but I took it. Cold, sweet, grounding. I hadn't realized how dry my throat was until I tasted it. Felt more real than anything else in the last 10 minutes or hours. Or whatever that had been. The old man lit another cigarette, his third or fourth since I arrived. Same silver Zippo, same slow drag, same heavy silence. Then he sat on a faded stool and finally spoke. "You're not the first, and you won't be the last." I leaned against the counter, still trembling. "What the hell is it?" He exhaled smoke through his nose. "You think I know? You warned me." I did. Some listen. Most don't. "But what is it?" I pressed. "A demon? An alien? Some government experiment buried out in the sand?" The old man chuckled softly, not with humor, with the tired laugh of someone who's already buried too. Many explanations to bother with new ones. I've heard it called a lot of things, but none of them stop it. He pointed out the window toward pump 4. It's been out there longer than this. Places had electricity, maybe longer than the pavement. Hell, maybe longer than the desert. I followed his gaze. The thing was gone again, back into the shadows, or the hole, or whatever that space behind pump 4 really was. No sign it had ever been there, no footprints, no marks in the dirt. Not even the hum from the pump, now dead quiet. Old man took another drag. "Rule 1, he said. You don't look behind pump 4 at midnight. Not directly, not through a mirror, not through your damn phone. Doesn't matter. Looking is inviting." I swallowed. "And if you already looked?" He met my eyes, then said low and steady, "Then it sees you." He nodded toward the back room. "You'll sleep in there. Door locks from the inside. I stay up. If I say don't come out, don't. If I say run, run west, not east. Not north, west. Understand?" I nodded. I didn't understand any of it, but I nodded. That night, I lay on a cot behind a steel-plated door while the wind howled against the walls and the hum of the old neon sign outside stuttered like a dying heartbeat. I didn't sleep because somewhere behind Pump 4, something was awake. And it had already blinked. I woke to silence, not morning silence, not birds or wind or the faint click of sunrise slipping in through glass. No, this was wrong. The kind of silence that feels like being buried. Pressure in your ears. Like the whole world was holding its breath. The room was still dark. No windows. Just one flickering fluorescent overhead and a cot bolted to the concrete floor. My backpack sat untouched in the corner. I didn't remember falling asleep. Hell, I didn't remember blinking. I checked my watch, 5:17 a.m. Still hours until sunrise. I got up slowly. My head felt heavy, like I'd been underwater too long. My skin tingled and my eyes burned. When I looked in the cracked bathroom mirror, they were bloodshot. Not red from exhaustion, black around the edges. Like shadows were blooming beneath the whites. I opened the door to the store. The old man was still behind the counter, awake, smoking, watching the door. "You slept too long," he said. I rubbed my temples. "It's still dark. You weren't supposed to sleep at all." I walked over, hands shaking. He handed me coffee without a word. I took a sip. Bitter and thick, but real. Then I noticed something behind the counter, an old journal. Brown leather, cracked with age, filled with torn pages and smudged ink. "What's that?" He didn't answer. I reached for it. He slapped my hand away. "You're not ready." I stared at him, heart racing. Ready for what? He looked out the window. His voice dropped. "To know what happens after it sees you." I sat down across from him, and that's when I realized his shadow was wrong. It wasn't just the angle of the light. It wasn't stretched. It wasn't distorted. It was moving independently, breathing. It shifted when he didn't, twirled its fingers, lifted its head, like something wearing him from the inside. I blinked, and it was normal again. Didn't ask. I didn't want the answer. He finally broke the silence. "Everything here has a shadow. But if yours starts looking at you, if it starts lagging, run." I went outside at sunrise. The desert was still calm, normal. But when I looked back at Pump 4, there were footprints behind it. Mine. But I hadn't walked back there. Not yet. The old man never asked if I was staying. He knew. Once you look behind Pump 4, you didn't leave, not in the way you thought. Sure, you could get in your truck. You could drive away, watch the neon sign disappear in your mirror. But sooner or later, the road would bend, the sky would flicker, and the world would change. Behind your back, then you'd look up and be right back at the station. Like it never let you go. I sat outside that morning, watching the sand swirl behind Pump 4 as the sun fought to rise. The air was still thick, still wrong. Like time hadn't fully returned yet. The old man joined me, lit another cigarette. Didn't speak for a long time. Then, finally he pointed down the dirt road. "You see that?" A car sat maybe 100 yards out, partially buried in the sand. Silver sedan. Dust on the windows. Sun-faded bumper stickers on the back. It hadn't been there yesterday. "Who's that belong to?" I asked. He squinted, then said, "Me, about 50 years ago." He didn't laugh, didn't blink. Just stared at the half-buried car like it was a scar that never healed. I tried to leave. Twice. First time, I made it to Arizona before I saw the gas station again. Thought maybe I just looped the map. Second time, I made it all the way to a motel in Reno. Thought I'd beat it. He took another drag. Woke up the next morning in the storeroom behind the counter. No doors, no memory of the drive. Just the sound of the pump humming. And something watching me. I looked down the road again. The car hadn't moved, but I swore there was a figure behind the wheel now. He told me about the others, the trucker who looked too long, the backpacker who camped out back, the married couple who knocked on the wrong pump. They all left, he said, but not one of them stayed gone. I asked what happened to them. He shook his head. Sometimes they drive by again, never stop, never look, just shadows now, trapped in loops, like they're still trying to leave. That night, I heard 3 knocks on the window, not the door, the window. I didn't answer. I just sat on the floor, holding the old man's shotgun, staring at the glass. Behind it stood a figure, thin, bent, eyes glowing like coals, and behind it, silver sedan, still running. The old man woke me before dawn. He didn't say a word, just nudged me with the butt of his flashlight and handed me a warm thermos, a rusted revolver, and a leather-bound notebook with my name already scratched into the cover. "You need to go," he said. I blinked. What happened to Sunrise? He looked out the window toward Pump 4, then back at me. Sunrise already came. You just didn't notice. I stepped outside into a morning that didn't feel like morning. The air had weight. The sand didn't move. The sky was too still, too flat, like a painted ceiling stretched over something else. Behind me, the gas station door clicked shut. I walked west, like he said. The road curved through dry nothingness, scrub brush, broken fences, telephone poles that didn't have lines anymore. I kept my eyes ahead. I didn't check the mirrors. I didn't glance over my shoulder. I didn't look at Pump 4, but I felt it, like something was following, not walking, gliding. No footsteps, no breath, just pressure at my back, like a cold breath riding my spine, and in the corners of my vision. Things shifted, shadows that didn't belong, light that bent. I passed an old billboard, half faded. I don't remember what it used to say, but now in crooked red letters it simply read, "You looked." Around noon, I stopped at a rusted-out diner by the side of the road. No cars, no sound, no sign of life. But the door was unlocked. Inside, the booths were covered in dust. Plates sat on tables with uneaten meals molded over and swarming with flies. That didn't buzz. There was a man behind the counter, back to me. Tall, thin, still. Too still. I raised the revolver. My hands were trembling. "Hello?" I said. No response. I stepped closer. His head twitched once like a broken animatronic. Then he spoke, voice low and distant. "You can't walk far enough, fast enough, long enough to get away from what you invited." I ran. Back to the road. The sky had darkened, even though it wasn't late. The sun seemed dimmer, smaller. I kept walking. West. Only west. That night, I made camp beneath an old radio tower. No signal, no power, but it felt grounded, like it didn't belong to whatever followed me. As I drifted off to sleep, I thought I heard scratching in the sand. Then a voice, soft as smoke, "You left the door open." I bolted upright. The spiral notebook the old man gave me was open beside me. And the page said, "Don't sleep twice." I didn't sleep again. Not because I wasn't tired, because I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt something crawl behind them, like thoughts that weren't mine trying to pull open a door in my head. The kind of sleep where you wake up not knowing who you are, where you are. So I read the notebook. The one the old man gave me. Its cover was rough and burned at the edges. Inside, the pages were filled with notes, dozens of handwriting styles, different inks, names signed, dates crossed out. Some pages had diagrams. Others had sketches of Pump 4 from different angles. One page near the middle stopped me cold. It was a map. Hand-drawn, no highways, no towns. Just gas stations. Each one marked with a number, each one circled in red spiral symbols. And next to one in bold, Shaky handwriting. Behind pump 4, do not look. There were others, other stations, other pumps. Other stories, just like mine. Except none of them ended. At the bottom of that same page was a note scrawled in all caps. Every location is a knot, untying when lets Ida move. I didn't know what it meant then, but I would soon. Kept walking. West. The spiral burned in my mind now, not drawn, not tattooed, but remembered. Like I'd seen it before I was born. Like it was older than language. It made my skin itch when I passed certain places. Old churches, desert ruins, abandoned trucks on the side of the road. Whenever I passed something marked, I'd find another page in the notebook filled in, new ink, fresh handwriting. As if someone or something was writing it in real time. And then I saw it. A new page that hadn't been there before. You're getting close. That's all it said. But underneath it was a symbol. Not the spiral. Something else. Too vertical. Lines. A horizontal one across the top. And a dark void drawn underneath. Ink pressed hard into the page like it was tearing through. It looked like a gas pump. Or a door. Maybe both. That night, I found a town. Or something, pretending to be one. No people, but the lights were on. The radio in the bar played a song that hadn't existed in decades. The menu on the table was in a language I didn't know, and every window showed a version of the gas station I left. Even when I turned away, even when I closed my eyes, the town had no name. No welcome sign. No people, just architecture that felt vaguely familiar but off like a dream trying to remember itself. Empty buildings, running water, lights that flickered even though I never saw a power line. And in the center of it all, another gas station. Not the same as before. Wider, taller, shiny white exterior like a freshly painted mausoleum. 6 pumps instead of 4. Clean concrete. Fluorescent light buzzing overhead, like it was trying to whisper something in Morse code, and there it was. Pump 4. Again. I almost turned back. Almost told myself this was all a loop, some elaborate hallucination from sleep deprivation and sunstroke. But something inside me, some pressure I couldn't shake, pulled me toward it. Not curiosity this time. Recognition. The same way you recognize the voice of someone who hurt you, even after 20 years of silence. I walked around pump 4 slowly. Same design. Same black sticker half torn off the side. But unlike the last one, there was a door behind it. Metal, rusted, bolted shut with an X-shaped chain I hadn't noticed until I was close enough to touch. It pulsed. Not visually, audibly. A deep, distant heartbeat behind steel, like the station had lungs, and it was holding its breath. I opened the notebook. Another new page. This one read, "You can open it, but you have to want to." Beneath that, it's not about looking anymore. It's about crossing. And below that, an illustration. A door, slightly ajar, with a hand reaching through. I stood in front of the metal door, hand hovering over the lock. The chains were cold, too cold for the desert. And from behind it, I could hear something scratching, slow, rhythmic, like claws on tile, like something pacing, waiting. Then I heard it, a voice. Not the old man's, not mine, but familiar, like someone I loved but couldn't remember anymore, whispering from childhood, "You left it open. Let it finish coming through." I didn't open it, not yet, but the door moved. Just an inch. Just enough for a slit of absolute black to peer through. And something inside let out a long, low sigh. I ran back toward the road, but the moment I passed the edge of the town, the sky shifted. Night fell instantly. And far behind me, where the door stood, a light turned on. Not a gas station light, a porch light. Like someone had come home. I didn't sleep, not even close. I set up camp a mile out. High ground near an old billboard warped from years of wind and heat. The notebook sat in my lap, but I didn't write. I didn't read. I just listened, because something had stepped through that door, and it was following me. Didn't hear footsteps. I didn't need to. There were other signs. The wind stopped. Crickets vanished. And the stars rearranged. Like someone was redrawing the sky. New constellations forming spirals, splitting in half. Blinking like watching eyes. And in the distance, a low whistle echoed across the desert. One note. Held too long. Too perfect to be human. Too familiar to be anything else. I waited until morning, before moving again, but the desert had changed. The road wasn't where I left it. My footprints led in circles. The compass app on my phone spun like it was being held over a magnet. And every mile I walked, I saw the same door in the distance, sometimes behind a cactus, sometimes standing in the middle of the road, sometimes floating 5 feet off the ground. Always chained shut. Always breathing. At sunset, I saw headlights. A car, old, rusted, covered in sand. It rolled slowly down the road toward me, too slow, like it was being pulled rather than driven. Inside was a woman. She looked alive, pale, hair over her eyes, hands trembling on the wheel. She stopped just ahead, rolled down the window, didn't speak, but I knew her. I didn't know how. Not from this life. Not from any memory I could place, but my soul recognized her, and I think hers recognized me too. Then she whispered, "You opened a door for it. Now it wants yours." The car rolled on. No engine noise. No brake lights. Just faded into the heat shimmer. And when I turned to keep walking, the door was in front of me. Again. Closer. UNCHAINED. Slightly open. A single eye peering through. And this time, it winked. I swear it wasn't there the night before. I'd walked this stretch twice. No turn-offs. No buildings. Just endless desert stitched together with faded asphalt and dust. But now right at the edge of the horizon, tucked between 2 bluffs that hadn't existed yesterday, another gas station. This one was worse. It didn't look old, or new, or even real. The walls shimmered slightly, like heat mirage over pavement. The lights buzzed in a frequency too high to hear, but low enough to make your teeth ache. There were no signs, no brand, no pumps, just a glowing, open sign flickering. In colors I couldn't name, and painted across the front, carved in black like fire had done the writing. "We remember who looked." I should have turned around. I didn't, because something inside me whispered, "You're close now." Close to what? I didn't know. Maybe the source, maybe the end, maybe both. Inside, it was cold, freezing, like walking into a meat locker. But there was no condensation, no hum of an AC unit, just cold air and silence, and rows of things that weren't products. Not really. Not food. Not drinks. Just shelves lined with Polaroids of people standing in front of Pump 4. Rusted keys labeled "Do Not Return." Tiny spiral totems made from hair, teeth, and wire. A mirror that didn't show your reflection. Only the thing watching from behind. ID kept walking. At the back of the store was a counter. Behind it stood a man, or something in the shape of a man. Its eyes were too wide, its arms too still, and when it smiled it hurt. Not emotionally. Physically. Like the shape of its grin triggered something primal and wrong in my body. "You made it far," it said, voice like 1,000 insects whispering at once. I didn't answer. It pushed a black binder across the counter. Inside, every page of my notebook, hand-copied. But not just what I'd read or written. Pages I hadn't opened yet. Pages from days that hadn't happened. Future entries. The last one read, "He turned around." I slammed the book shut. "Is there a way out?" I asked. It blinked. Slowly, one lid horizontal, one vertical. "There's always a way out," it said. "But every exit leads somewhere worse." I left without touching anything else. As I crossed the threshold, I turned back and the station was gone, like it had never been there. Just empty desert. But in the wind, I heard it whisper, "We'll keep a pump ready for you." It started with the itch dot right under the skin, behind my ribs. Not painful at first, just irritating. Like a bug bite in a place you couldn't reach. I ignored it for a while, but by the third day, I couldn't, because it moved. I'd set up camp beneath the husk of a collapsed water tower. Nothing for miles except rusted beams, cracked concrete, and the sound of wind that didn't come from any direction I could name. I stripped down to the waist and stared at the spot. Lower left rib, a faint spiral. Not drawn. Raised. Like a brand. Being pushed outward, like it was trying to grow. I pressed my fingers against it and felt heat. It pulsed. And when I pulled my hand away, there was something under my fingernails. Black dust. The notebook had changed again. Pages I hadn't seen now glowed faintly, like embered parchment. One read, "It can't take you unless you become part of it." Another said, "It's inside everyone who ever looked." And a third written in my own handwriting, even though I hadn't written it, "The spiral isn't a symbol, it's a door. You're the handle." That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes I saw me, but not quite. A version of me with longer limbs, hollow eyes, teeth that didn't stop. Crawling behind Pump 4 on all fours. Smiling. Waving. Mimicking. At one point, I sat straight up and saw the figure again. Across the desert, crouched, glowing eyes, except this time it had my face. I ran, didn't pack, didn't think. Just sprinted. Across sand and gravel until the soles of my boots bled. And when I finally stopped, I was in front of another gas station. But this one wasn't empty. Lights were on, pumps were active, and standing outside, arms crossed, was the old man. Same denim jacket. Same trucker hat. Same cigarette. He nodded once. "I told you not to look," he said. "Now you're almost out of time." The old man didn't look surprised to see me. He leaned against the wall like he'd been waiting for years. Maybe he had. Maybe time didn't move the same way anymore. Not since I looked. Not since the spiral started growing beneath my skin. "You've seen it, haven't you?" he asked. I nodded. My voice didn't work. He flicked his cigarette into the dirt and opened the station door. "Come inside. It's almost time." The station was the same when I first found. Same humming freezer. Same cracked tile. Same smell, oil, dust, rot, and something older. But there were differences. Photos lined the walls now. Black and white. Polaroids. Dozens. Hundreds. All of people. Standing behind Pump 4. All with the same look in their eyes. Part terror, part awe. Some of them were blurred. Not by motion. By something that didn't want to be captured. And one of them was me. The old man sat behind the counter. Same stool. Same notebook. He slid it toward me. "You've seen the spiral now," he said. "You've felt it. The itch, the pull. The voice at night whispering things only you should know." He lit another cigarette. "That means it's almost through. And once it's through, you stop being you." I flipped open the notebook. There was one new page. A question written in thick, uneven ink. "Do you want to open the door, or do you want to become it?" My mouth was dry. "What does it want?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "A body." I stared at him. "Mine," he nodded. "Anyone's. Yours if it can. Otherwise, it mimics. It tries on faces. But it needs a host to stay." My hands shook. "And what happens to the others?" He looked at the floor. "They become rooms in its house." He stood up and walked to the front window. Pump 4 sat outside. Still. Empty. But in the glass reflection, I saw movement. A long, thin arm sliding up from the back. A head peeking around. Smiling. With my smile. "It's knocking now," the old man whispered. 3 times, just like always. I heard it. 3 knocks. Same rhythm. Same weight. Same nightmare heartbeat that had followed me since the night I looked behind Pump 4. The old man didn't flinch. Just stood there by the window, watching his own reflection. Not me, not the door, but something only he could see. It's time, he said quietly. It always comes to this. I turned to the notebook. My page was glowing now, faint. Red, warm like a coal left in the ashes. The spiral beneath my ribs pulsed with it, synchronizing. Every breath I took felt like it was borrowed. Every beat of my heart slowed, like my body was waiting for someone else to take over. And outside, the door behind Pump 4 was wide open. I stepped to the window and saw myself, or the thing wearing me, standing just outside the threshold. Same clothes, same face, but hollow eyes. A jaw that hung just a little too low. Fingers too long. It smiled. Then whispered, "Let me in." The old man spoke behind me. I let it in once. A long time ago, thought I could contain it, trap it here. But that's the trick. He tapped the side of his head. It only knocks on doors that are already cracked. I didn't ask what he meant. I already knew. The knocks came again. This time from inside the station. Not on the door, on the cooler behind me. I turned slowly. The glass door trembled. Condensation curled across the surface like frostbite. Inside, the bottles and cans rattled. The black hand pressed against the glass, followed by a face. Not mine. Not the old man's, everyone's. Faces I'd seen in photos. People who'd vanished behind Pump 4. All layered into one shifting, impossible expression. A collage of every poor soul who had ever looked. The spiral behind my ribs burned. The notebook flipped on its own. Final page. 3 options. Run open the door. Take its place. There was no fourth. There never had been. The old man turned to me. "If you run," he said, "you'll be back here by morning. If you open the door, it wins." He looked tired now. Eyes sunken. Ash from his cigarette trembling in midair. "But if you take its place, someone else gets to walk away." The creature pressed harder against the glass. Cracks spread across it. I stepped forward. The notebook closed itself. The choice made. The door creaked open. Not the glass cooler. Not the front of the station. The one behind Pump 4. The one I said I'd never open. But now, I stood before it. Alone. The desert was dead. Quiet. The sky above had gone completely black. No stars, no moon. Just a void hanging overhead like a lid sealed on a coffin. The only light was the flickering neon above the station, pulsing in rhythm with my heartbeat. The spiral beneath my ribs twisted tighter. Like it knew this was the end. Or the beginning. I stepped past the threshold. The moment my foot crossed, I felt it, like stepping off solid ground. And into a memory that didn't belong to me. It wasn't a room inside the station. It wasn't even a place. It was in between. Endless darkness. Drifting fog. And in the center, floating above a pool of ink that rippled without wind. The thing. It looked like me, but not quite. Flesh that shimmered like oil. Limbs bent in slow, impossible patterns. Eyes like twin. Spirals spinning inward forever. It didn't speak. It didn't need to, because I understood now. It wasn't here to kill me. It was here to be me. And all I had to do was let go. The notebook in my hand turned to ash. The spiral beneath my skin dissolved, curling into mist. And the thing stepped into me. Or maybe I stepped into it. The next time I opened my eyes, I was behind the counter. Gas station lights buzzing overhead. Same stool. Same floor. Same freezer hum. The door swung open. Bell JINGL. Einen G. And in walked a young man. Tired. Dust dash. Covered. Holding a map. I smiled, because I knew what came next. He would look. He would open. And when he did, I'd be waiting. Somewhere out in the desert. Pump 4 hums quietly. The spiral keeps turning. And behind the door. You're next.
If this story touched your fear, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special just for you. Another tale, another truth, and maybe a whisper you were never meant to hear.